The views and opinions expressed on Speaking My Mind are solely those of the host and are intended for commentary and discussion purposes. This content is not presented as fact, but as personal perspective. This commentary is protected by the First Amendment.
My name is LV, and I'm speaking my mind. I'm speaking my mind, and what's happening in Tennessee ought to anger every American who truly believes in justice, equality, and democracy. Because what we are witnessing is not just politics. It's a calculated attempt to silence voices. It's a deliberate effort to erase representation. And it's a dangerous attempt to drag this nation backward after generations of sacrifice, bloodshed, protests, marches, jail cells, beatings, and prayers brought us closer to equality in the first place. Now, let me say this clearly. The civil rights movement was not built so politicians decades later could come back with a pen and redraw history. Our ancestors did not march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge so modern lawmakers could dismantle voting protections piece by piece. They did not face fire hoses, police dogs, bombings, intimidation, and murder so states could whitewash representation and pretend discrimination no longer exists. And yet, we are here. Right now in Tennessee, lawmakers are under fire for redrawing congressional maps in ways critics say weaken black voting power by dismantling the state's only majority black congressional district centered around Memphis civil rights groups. And voting rights advocates are already calling this modern-day voter suppression and racial gerrymandering. And this did not happen in a vacuum. This comes after recent court rulings weakening protections under the Voting Rights Act, one of the most important laws ever passed in this country. That law was created because black Americans were systematically denied the right to vote. History already proved what happens when there are no federal protections. History already showed us literacy tests, poll taxes, intimidation, Jim Crow, and now some people want to act like America magically solved racism overnight, and therefore these protections are no longer needed. No. Absolutely not. When lawmakers carve up communities to dilute black voices, when educational discussions about race and history are attacked, when DEI programs are dismantled, and when representation itself becomes a target, you cannot tell me race no longer matters. What we are seeing is an organized rollback, and people better wake up before the damage spreads nationwide. Because Tennessee is not the only state where this conversation is happening. Other states are now testing how far they can go in weakening minority representation and civil rights protections. But hear me now. We will not be silenced. We will not disappear. We will not allow our history to be erased to make certain people comfortable. This nation belongs to all of us. Black history is American history. Civil rights history is American history. The Voting Rights Act is American history. And if you think people are just going to quietly accept having their voices diluted, their communities divided, and their representation stripped away, you are sadly mistaken. This is the time for people to organize, to vote, to speak out, to educate younger generations, if you will, to challenge those laws in court, to protest peacefully, to hold leaders accountable, and to remind this nation that democracy only works when everybody's voice matters. Not just the powerful, not just the wealthy, not just the politically connected, everybody. Because once you start deciding whose vote matters and whose voice should be weakened, you are no longer protecting democracy. You are dismantling it. And to those trying to rewrite history, we remember. We remember Selma. We remember Memphis. We remember Medgar Evers. We remember Martin Luther King Jr. We remember the struggle, and we will not sit quietly while the clock is being turned backward. This is not about division. This is about dignity. This is about equal protection. This is about making sure future generations never have to refight battles that should have been settled decades ago. The people are watching. The nation is watching. And history will remember exactly who stood for justice and who tried to silence it. My name is LV, and I have spoken my mind.